Well, make your money. Well, make your money, baby. Well, make your money.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Lunchtime STEM. I'm Miss Heather and this is Ronan, and today we're going to be talking about air pressure, and we're going to be doing an experiment and then a project that both look at air pressure. So for the first experiment, you're going to need a bottle. We're going to use this plastic 2-liter bottle, but you want something with this shape, so a narrow mouth at the top and then a wider body. And it needs to be empty and clean. And you're also going to need some paper, and you're just going to wad it up into a little ball that's small enough to fit in the mouth of the bottle. So make sure that it can go in and out of the bottle and that there's still a little bit of room around it. Now, what we're going to do with this paper is try to blow it into the bottle. So Ronan, go ahead and give it a blow and see if you can get the paper to go into the bottle.
Well, shouldn't it just go in?
If you blow?
Yeah.
Try it.
Okay. How did it come out?
Let's try it again. Maybe you should blow harder. I'm gonna try one more time. I'll put it right in front of you so that you're not blowing at an angle. Still no luck.
Why doesn't it happen?
So you can try this at home, and if you blow, even if you blow really hard, the paper's not going to go inside. This part of the bottle, so the big part, it's full of air, right?
Yeah.
Even though we can't see it, it is. And there's more air pressure inside the bottle because there's a greater volume of air than right here in the mouth where you're blowing.
So when you blow
the air that's in here is keeping it from going in, and it pushes it back out when you blow. It kind of makes a little loop and kicks it out of the bottle.
You just push it out when you put it in.
Like that? Well, there's no force, right? There's no force right now. It's not creating any force out. It's just in here. So when you blow, you are creating force. You're creating kind of a current that's kicking it back out of the bottle. You want to try one more time?
Sure.
Yep, that's going to keep happening. So try this one at home and see if you can get your paper ball to go into the bottle. So the first thing that you're going to need is a bottle. A plastic bottle that's empty. We're using a 2-liter bottle today, so the type of bottle that you might get soda or seltzer water in. You can also use a smaller bottle like this water bottle. The important thing is that you have a narrow top to it. The smaller bottle is probably not going to fly as high as the larger bottle, so we're going to go with the 2-liter bottle today. You're also going to need some cardboard and a pencil, some paper, and that can be regular paper, construction paper, or we're using some patterned paper today. You'll need some scissors. You will need either a box cutter or an X-Acto knife, unless you have very, very sharp shears to cut the cardboard. This part is just for the grown-ups to help you with. You shouldn't be using a sharp knife like this on your own. You'll also need some duct tape. Any color is fine. You'll need a ruler, or in our case, we're using a meter stick. You're going to need a cork So just the type that is stopper for a bottle. Going to need some Play-Doh or clay. You're going to need a needle valve. This is the kind of air valve that you use to inflate a ball, like a basketball, or a replacement tube for your bike tire. You'll also need an air pump. We're using a very big bicycle pump. And then there's a couple of things that might make it easier to do your work. We're going to use a cutting board to cut our cardboard on because we're doing our work inside because it's raining today. So that'll keep our table from getting damaged. You also might want a pair of needle nose pliers. That can make it a little bit easier to make the hole in the cork that we're going to put the valve in. And you also could use a nail or a screw that's about the same diameter as the air valve. That can make it a little bit easier to make the hole in the cork as well. Those are all the supplies that we're going to use today, so let's go ahead and get started. So for our first step, we're going to make the fins for our rocket. They're also going to serve as our launch pad of sorts. We're going to use our cardboard, and we took 2 identical pieces of cardboard from opposite ends of a box. It'll help if you're able to do that because it'll make the cutting part easier to make them the same size. If you don't have 2 equally sized pieces of cardboard, then you want to cut them down to the same size and make sure that they're both either rectangles or squares. We're going to make pretty big fins here because our bottle is really big. So I'm going to take our meter stick and put it corner to corner, and Ronan's going to draw a straight line. Like that. And we're going to do the same thing on our other piece of cardboard, just going corner to corner. And that way our fins will be the same size. We're going to cut these using our box cutter. This is a part for a grown-up to do. If you have very sharp shears, so not like these scissors, but actual shears, you can probably cut the cardboard with shears, but we're going to use a box cutter, and I'm going to put it on this cutting board so that I don't damage our table. And remember, a grown-up needs to do the cutting here because box cutters are very, very sharp. And we're going to cut along the line that Ronan drew. And I'll score it again so that we can cut through, and that's going to create our first pair of fins. And I'm going to cut our second one, and then we're going to get these onto our bottle. So we cut out our fins. We've got 4 evenly sized triangular fins. We're going to put those aside for now. We're going to make the next piece of our rocket, and that's going to be our nose cone. Let me move our cutting board out of the way. So for this step, we're just going to roll paper into a cone. And the only trick to this is making sure that your cone is the right size that it can fit onto your bottle. And you can make the cone as tall or as short as you like, as long as you can get your bottle into it. So Ronan, I'm going to have you hold this so that we can tape it. So can you hold it in a cone shape? Don't squish it. So let it be a little bit bigger. still be a little bit bigger. Open your hands up. Okay, let me get our tape. And we're just gonna get the cone taped into place. I'm gonna use a little duct tape on it. That way we make sure it stays. Okay, so you wanna hold the tape. Can you tape right here? Perfect. All right. And we're going to see about how far it goes. That looks good. So we should be able to now trim off the excess paper. Stick our nose cone on there and we're actually going to tape it all on. So we'll use our duct tape to do that. Now that I feel this, I think this is kind of light. So we're going to add a little bit of ballast at the top. And that's something we can use our Play-Doh for. If you use a heavier kind of paper, it may feel heavy enough to you that you don't want to use any extra ballast, but we'll use a little bit just to give it a little bit more weight. And if you don't have any clay, you could also use a tennis ball for that. So Ronan, do you want to take out a little bit of Play-Doh? Just a chunk. Not a ton, just a little bit. That's good. And then just kind of smush it onto the top. Try to make it pretty even. Yeah, that's good. Let's try to get it a little bit more circular. Okay, and then do you want to hold the bottle like that? And we'll put a little duct tape to keep it on. Tape that on like that, and then we'll tape it the other side. And having a little bit of weight at the top and at the bottom of your rocket should make it a little bit more stable when it takes off.
Why does it have to be stable to lift off?
It doesn't have to, but if it flies up and relatively straight, it's going to go higher than if it's wobbling the whole way and flipping around.
So if you don't put any weight, extra weight to it, and it's just like this paper, will it topple like this way?
It might.
So what happens if it topples and hits you? Will it hurt?
Not really. This is pretty lightweight materials. It won't hurt very much if it hits you. Can you hold the bottle up? And we're going to go ahead and tape our cone on. We made a really big cone, but you can make a smaller one if you want. It just depends on the size of paper that you use. So we got our nose put onto our bottle. We just used a little duct tape to get it on. It's not beautiful, but it'll work. Now we're going to add some ballast to this end of the bottle. So Ronan's going to make a snake out of some Play-Doh and add it to the surround of the bottle's neck. Got it? You can probably take a good amount of that out. It'll take a little bit more than that. It's gonna have to go all the way around. So get a little bit more clay and then roll it. More than that. Okay. So roll it out like a snake. Maybe roll your sleeve up. Okay, let's see. Is that long enough to go around? Okay, keep rolling it, and I would add a little bit more clay. Probably more than that. want to try again? I'm going to put it up closer to the top. Okay, let's take it off. There you go. Try. Let's roll it out again. You want to put it up by the top, by the ring. You're going to have to roll it out again. Try to make it even, because we want the weight to be pretty even on our rocket. Okay, let's see if that's long enough. Wrap it around there. This part. Looks good. Okay. All right, so we've got a little ring of clay dough kind of around the mouth. And what we're going to do is we're going to duct tape that on, and that's going to act as ballast on this end of our bottle rocket. And try to keep it kind of evenly weighted. Hopefully it will fly a little bit better. So we're going to put the duct tape on, and then we will show you our next step. We got our duct tape all around our clay that was on the mouth of the bottle, and that'll just help keep it on there. And our next step is going to be to create our cork, which is going to go into the bottle's mouth here. And we've got to insert our inflation valve into it. And you want to make sure you do the cork step and the cone before you put the flaps on your bottle. The flap should be the last step because it gets really hard to work with the rocket once the flaps are on. So we're going to work on our cork now. Want to make sure that the cork actually will fit in the bottle all the way nice and tight. And before you start, we checked ours already, but before you start doing anything to your bottle, it's a good idea to test out the seal of your cork in the bottle. Have your grown-up put some water in the bottle, stopper it with the cork, turn it upside down to see if it leaks. And then you can also shape your cork however you need it. Ours is sort of decreasing in size in that direction, and that helps to make a nice fit. We can push it in as hard as we need to make a good seal. So we're going to take our cork, and it can be really hard to get the valve to go through your cork without bending your valve. So I am going to use a screw that's about the same diameter to create the hole in the cork. It makes it a little bit easier. Before you start, you want to make sure that your cork has enough room so that the valve can go through all the way and come out the other side. And if you can see on the valve, there's a little hole right there for the air as well. So you want to make sure that that actually comes through the cork all the way. So you may need to shave down your cork a bit or trim it up, and a grown-up can help you with that using the box cutter or X-Acto knife. So we're going to get started with this. I'm going to just go ahead and place it center into my cork, and since I chose a screw, that makes my life a lot easier than working with the valve because I'll actually be able to screw it into the cork and create the hole as I go. I'm going to use the needle nose pliers just to help me get a grip on it, and I'll get it started, and then we'll be back once I've got this hole in the cork. We're back, and we've got our hole now in our cork. So I'll show you that. And there's the other end. Now we just need to test to make sure that our inflation valve fits through the hole and comes out the other side. And that looks good, and the air hole does come out on this side. Next step, we're going to put our cork into our bottle and put it on there pretty tightly because we're going to check this against the bike pump height to decide how high to put our fins on the bottle. We need to make sure that our rocket has enough room so that we can actually inflate it and pump the air in. So our pump, you can see we've got a very big bicycle pump here, has one of these little controllers. So you want to make sure that you make enough room for the pump that you're using to function and to hold your rocket off of the ground. So we're going to go ahead and just check and see how high up the fins need to go. And it looks like it needs to be attached right around the duct tape up here to give us enough room. It can help to make little flaps or tabs on your cardboard fins to tape them on. We're just going to go ahead and use duct tape to get them on here, and we'll be back once we have the whole thing assembled. So we put all of our fins onto our rocket ship. Daphne's holding it, and we just duct taped them on. It doesn't look too fancy. We put about 1 liter of water into the bottle, and then we sealed it with our cork that we had already made the hole in. We're keeping it upside down, and we brought it to a completely empty parking lot so that we can shoot it off without it possibly landing on someone's roof or hitting anybody. And we're gonna go ahead and try to launch this. Ronan's got the bicycle pump, and we will do our launch momentarily.
Make your money. Well, make your money. Well, make your money.
So for this, you want your grown-up to be the one to actually pump the air into the rocket and have everybody else stand back from it. We are going to put our rocket on the ground, and if all goes well, we'll have liftoff here in a minute. Get it?
Yep.